Hi guys, it's Dan with my 1990 Simpsons mug, drinking some coffee, ready to talk some comics. Picked up some new comics from the store today, got a few things in the mail, got a little stack of stuff to show off. Nothing too crazy. I'm in the middle of reading a lot of longer things right now, so this will be probably a little bit of a shorter video. Let's take a look what came out today. Issue 3 of American Caper came out with that Simon Bisley cover, of course. Really digging this series. So you can hear me talk about that on another video if you want to go back and watch. I got issue 5 of Good as Dead. So this is the second to last issue of the series by the Laphams, and I'm looking forward to reading the whole thing in a row once I get that last issue. There's actually 3 Bad Idea comics that came out today that I wanted to pick up. So this is the final issue of They're All Terrible by Matt Kindt and Ramon Villalobos. So this is extremely appealing art to me, and I like both these creators a lot. So I'm really going to be diving into that one very soon. Also, the final issue of Cul-de-sac by Mike Carey and Jonathan Waschek. They actually had 4 different covers of this available, and I went with the original cover, but they were all beautiful covers. This is a really cool looking series. And the last one from Bad Idea is Save Now number 0. So it's interesting, what they did was they came out with issues 1 and 2, and then they come out with a 0 issue, and then they're going to have issues 3 and 4 after that. And they're doing the same thing with that other series that just came out that's called Ordained. They're going to have 2 issues and then a 0 issue and then the next couple issues. I think it's just those 5 issues total. Somewhat of a strange idea to have this, they say like Origins here, to put that in the middle, but I guess they want people to get excited about the series first. Next thing was Exquisite Corpses number 9. Not quite sure how long this is going. I think there might be one more issue, but maybe more. I got Daredevil and Punisher number 3. It's a pretty sweet cover. I got Assorted Crisis Events number 8. Fantastic series. Really recommend this one. There was a free ash can as well that was on the shelf called Just Brutal from what is this, Ignition Press. I haven't got anything from Ignition Press yet, but I think I do have a few of these ash cans, and nothing has really looked appealing enough for me to buy it yet, but hopefully it's a cool publisher and they'll come out with something that I want. I also, last week when I was in there, I had a little extra money to spend. I think I had a gift certificate from one of my students for Christmas, and so I picked up my regular stuff, and then I got looking around the store, and I grabbed some other new release titles off the shelf that had 5 straight issues in a run that I've been interested in checking out. And then I ended up just having them put them in my pull box and hold them for me because I found all those other things. I found those back issues of Oriental Heroes and a few other things. So I ended up not getting them yet, but I did decide to pick up the first one today, and that's the TMNT Journeys. So this is that Peter Laird, reprints of Peter Laird and Jim Lawson's, I think it's like a volume 4 of the Turtles. And I really like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I know Terrence is a big fan of them, and he just had a really cool video just posted last night. He got TMNT issue 3 first print, and it is so awesome looking. I'm extremely jealous. So I kind of wanted to pick this up because Turtles have been on my brain. And speaking of Terrence, I got some comics in the mail from him as well. He sent me a couple issues of Prime Cuts. So I got number 1 and number 4 here. This is a really cool looking magazine from Fantagraphics. That's an anthology. Slightly embarrassing though. I do own these issues already, but I also haven't read them yet. So I know it's hard to gift somebody stuff when you've got mountains of comics, you don't know what they have or not, but that was an extremely cool gesture, and I'm very grateful for that. And I just it boggles the mind that I've only been actually producing videos for a matter of a few months, and I'm already getting all kinds of random acts of kindness in the mail from these cool friends that I'm making in other states and countries. So thank you, Terrence, and I will be sending something else your way as a thank you for that. One other thing came in the mail for me. I just got this from Amazon. It's The True Man, the Maximortal by Rick Veitch, issue 2. So Rick Veitch has been self-publishing his stuff through King Hell and also through Sun Comics. So it's kind of like he has two names for his publishing stuff, but I think he only puts the King Hell, oh, Sun Comics is there too. I think he just puts the King Hell on the stuff that is part of the King Hell Heroica saga. But these are great value, 100 pages for $10, and Rick Veitch does everything, writes it, draws it, letters it, self-publishes it, and all the Maximortal stuff has been fantastic. So if you've read the Maximortal and you like it, I would recommend getting the Boy Maximortal series, which is already concluded, and then jumping in on this True Man, the Maximortal. Of course, that all ties in with Brat Pack as well. And these are really nice long issues. It's 100 pages, but it's not 100 pages of the normal story. He has some other backup things that I think are usually reprints from older stuff that he published back in the day. So a lot of cool art in here. Looking forward to that. Okay, let's get on to some of the stuff I read. So like I said, I mostly have been working on some longer books like the Eternaut and stuff, but I did read some issues and I finished up a couple miniseries. And speaking of Terrence, I'm going to start by showing off the one that I think would make him the most excited. This is a bizarre comic, and I can't say with confidence that I'm the only person in the world that owns this, but I would be willing to bet that this and maybe one or two other things in my collection are things that the only other people who probably own these are the people who created them back in the day, because this is like a regional comic. I found this at my comic book store, I don't know, a couple years ago, a year ago maybe, and I was like, what is this weird comic? And it's called Visions by Eco Comics, #1 for mature readers, with a really boring cover. So this is not a good comic, but it is a very fascinating comic. This is something that I opened it up. Well, first of all, let's just acknowledge the fact that it is, it's all kind of fucked up on the corners. It looks like somebody was trying to like pin this to their wall with a push pin and couldn't get it through the comic maybe. The back is just plain white, and you know, I've seen what it looks like when like a mouse chews up a comic before. That's not what this looks like. These little pin pricks go through the entire book. And the cover is bent. The whole thing is kind of bent, but it's like, it's not bent in the same place. So it's in terrible condition, but you open it up and the first thing you see on the front page is an advertisement for a tattoo shop. Not the best art right there, but the lettering is also really hard to follow. Like, it's supposed to be kind of like graffiti. Get Truly Aggro, the only, and it's like the only tattoo shop with teeth. That is really dumb the way they did that. Then I look down at the bottom and it shows this address and it says, where is it? Yeah, RDG. I was like, RDG? Could that be Redding? Redding, California is about 100 miles north of here. And as you look through this comic, there are several other local ads from Redding. I'll show you them as they come. But there's no indicia in the front, and there is one actually in the back. This is from 1993 from something called Eco Comics. And I think the technical name of this comic is Eco Visions. So this totally looks like somebody's high school self-published comic. It has 2 stories in here. The first one's called Happy Jack, penciled and inked by Ty Boss and written by Beth Boss. And it's extremely amateurish art. There's a Catholic church, and there's this, it's so hard to follow, and it's just really weird. This guy's in bed and screaming, "Make it stop." And then I think this is his dream. He's in his dream, and this little smiley face thing comes up and wakes him up and shows him the way back. And then it flashes to this video store. And so here's our main guy, and he's the priest guy who looks like he's about the size of a child is returning a video. And when he takes it out, he's like, this isn't one of our tapes. And he's wondering what it is. So he pops it in. And this is all you really see. It's just, the storytelling is garbage, but you can see there's like somebody crucified, and there's someone like maybe with a whip or something like that. And he's decided that all abusers deserve to die. Oh yeah, there's the shot of the priest like coming up and putting his hand in front of the camera as it's like fuzzing out. So he dons his vigilante costume with the smiley face mask, and he crashes into the guy's house, and he finds the priest and confronts him, and he just wants to bring an end to his extracurricular activities. You get it? Like a cleric, not curricular, clericular. It took me a few times of reading that to pick up on what it was. And anyway, he smashes the guy's face into a wall, and he's begging for remorse, and he pulls out his knife and he slices the preacher's throat. Look at this picture of him, and you see what he was doing. He was like mostly naked in a armchair, probably beating off to these tapes that he makes, and he wrapped him up in some VHS tape and sliced his throat. And look at how weirdly long his neck is in that drawing. Look at this arm right here. Oh my God. So bad. One less source of torment for us all. Finn. Now this ad is actually pretty badass right here. It's for an advertisement for coming soon. I don't think any of this probably came out, but Slaughterhouse up top. That looks really cool. And then on the bottom, Flatline. I'm assuming this is two different things. Story and art by Chuck Bowman, Caleb Land. But yeah, I love that screen tone they used, and then that like lightning bolt they painted on there. Looks kind of like they maybe painted the buildings on top of the Zipatone, and then maybe just pasted this guy on top of it too. Then there's this pin up here, which is really not good. Then here is what confirmed it for me. There's an advertisement for something called Cal's Books in Reading. So this just somehow came to my store, and I was like, what do you guys want for this? And they're like, you really want that bad? I'm like, yeah, I do. I really, really want it. They're like, you can just have it, Dan. I was like, yes. So this one, 1993, it starts out. In 1999, he was put in a coma by a low-ranking member of a criminal organization known as the Thieves Guild. And the storytelling here is also really bad. I don't know that there's a credit on this one. Maybe at the end of the strip. Let me see. It's only 8 pages. Yeah, it doesn't seem to give any credits on this story. Oh well, probably doesn't matter, but I mean, who knows what these guys were doing. I'm going to read some stuff at the back that is actually really hilarious that you're going to want to hear. So it's kind of just flashes around, and this guy with the gun is telling this guy to hurry up and move along and help him. And he's like, you know, if you want me to move any faster, then you help me carry the gold. So he's just dragging this bag of gold. You can't really tell where they are. I kind of assume they were on top of a building, but then I'm like, I don't really know. Like the moon is like right there, just huge. And anyway, just kind of all of a sudden this guy starts running, and then there's a shot, and he gets blasted off of this roof and falls down, splatters on the ground with that perfect little hand. He's like dying, and all of a sudden he's waking up. He's in a coma for 2 years, John Doe. And then it flashes forward, and he's coming to return the favor for what happened, and he goes into the elevator shaft, and you have to read down this way, and he's climbing the elevator shaft. That's kind of a cool panel. Anyways, he knocks on the door, flowers, and the guy, of course, is super cool looking security guy, pulls out this gun, and all of a sudden this is such a weird panel. Like, what is happening? I mean, I'm guessing he's like swinging from inside the elevator shaft into the room and kicking the guy, but really hard to tell. And then this page where the artist obviously got really bored and just was like, I don't want to draw all this hatching, but I need some gray. So he just scribbled. You can just see it's all scribbled around these guys. Like, he took no time at all to scribble that in. Anyways, he throws this watch at the guys, at the next security dudes, and it lands at their feet. Tick, 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 boom. And then he goes into the room. Hello, Jacob. Long time no see. Don't move, asshole. And he's got this gun. He takes off his hat. No, you're dead. I saw you die. And it just doesn't make any sense. He just throws his hat at him on his computer. And I think he's like bending down to get a gun. Oh, yeah, he gets a gun. And by the time he shoots him, the door is closed. And that's it. Whatever. So, not a good story, not good art, but just fantastic, weird old comic that I somehow got. Now there's this page right here, this wanted page, and I'm going to read this because I find it to be quite funny. This is how I think these guys have got to be teenagers or something. Wanted, 10 people willing to die. Are you tired of those design your own hero to fight my hero contests? Are those send in all 7 coupons so you can get one soon to be released in a graphic novel issue number 0 contest starting to make you just a teensy bit mad? Are you one of those Americans who are sick and tired of trying to name the letters page so you can get a chromium cover foil stamped holographic piece of crap 14-page book? More importantly, are you into maiming, car wrecks, plane wrecks, shootings, stabbings, or personal disfigurement? If so, you're our kind of person. We're now offering to off you in our own comic. Don't commit suicide, let us kill you. It's almost the same, only less final. There will be a drawing to determine the, in parentheses, unlucky 10 to die. Your first chance will be at the Shasta Factory Outlets Card and Comic Show, February 11th, 12th, and 13th. Just go to the show, locate the Eco booth, and enter to win. Other chances coming soon. All right. And then we have some ads for coming soon. There's this comic, The Last Flag Flying. Super 90s. And then Meet Ho and Hum. What? This is by Boss there again. Same guy that did the first story. Your average psychotic family sound boring? Take in the fact that they just moved next to your home. Not anymore. What? And then here's another one of these great pages. So this is this funny little, editorial, little handwritten thing. Ty, how's this for an intro from Craig? And then Craig supposedly sent this typeset thing. Hello and welcome to the first issue of EcoVisions. It is our goal to please our readers with some stunning artwork and exciting stories. Of course, if we can make a buck doing it, that's good too. From time to time, you may see our format change from just a little violent to extremely violent. Please bear with us. And if you like these stories, then you'd better go and check out Eco Anthologies as well. Those stories aren't quite as ... well, bloody, disgusting, vulgar, cruel, iconoclastic. You get the point. But hey, it's a great book anyways. In these hard times with so many totally crappy stories and worthless artists, it's good to know that there are people out there who just want to tell stories that are good, exciting, bloody, well-written, ... bloody, down to earth. Did I mention bloody? So if you liked us this month, then buy both our books next month and tell your friends how great we are. We would tell them, but we don't know who they are. And don't forget to mention that we are all very good looking. There's nothing that we here at Eco Comics like more than going through mail, so write us a letter. If you're really lucky, we might write you back. So give us a try. We grow on you like mold. P.S. We really are all very good looking. And then at the bottom he writes in, sounds great. Make sure it's proofread before before printing, and there are a lot of spelling mistakes in there. Wow. So there's 3 more titles supposedly coming from these guys. And then one more ad for Bog Bean Books and Music. So how many copies of this were made, and how many copies still exist? Did they have any distribution? Guessing no. Did they just sell it at these local stores that they advertised in? Maybe. Who knows? But I don't think you'll find any record of that anywhere on the internet. And I have another one like that too, I'll show in a future video. All right, let's get down with the most impressive series I just finished reading. I loved this series and I highly recommend it. It's called We're Taking Everyone Down With Us from Image Comics. And this just wrapped up in the last few months. And so I finally just sat down and read them all. I read the first one when I got it and I loved it. And I really like Matthew Rosenberg. He's actually quickly becoming one of my favorite modern writers. He did that Where's the Furthest Place From Here comic, which I really, really enjoyed. And this one is 6 issues. So it says here, a Rook spy thriller. And the Rook is not necessarily the main character, but he is a comic book character in here that will possibly be returning. There's number 2. Number 3. These are all the A covers I got on those first 3, and then I got the B covers. I think they're the B or variant covers of some kind for 4, 5, and 6. So that's a pretty nice one. That's pretty cool. And then there's the Jesse Lonergan for number 6. So I'm going to show this off a little bit and not spoil it, but it is a fantastic comic. There was a free ash can of this that came out, and so a lot of people maybe have seen it just from that. But it starts out with this girl playing hide and seek with these robots, and you come to quickly find out that she is the only person in this area aside from her father, who is this man right here. His name is the Vitruvian. So he is like, this is like an espionage comic, and he is like basically a supervillain. And he, oh, actually no, there is one other guy. There's an assistant who's helping him with his experiments. So he can't play with his daughter because he's always so busy with his experiments. And of course, you know, he's like basically trying to figure out how to take over the world. She discovers this basement in issue 1 with these torture weapons. There's a guy chained down there, so she's like getting some ideas like, my dad's probably not a very good guy. And there's essentially a couple of different organizations. There's Veil, and this is the like espionage organization that the Rook works with, and the Rook is a major piece of shit. And then there is La Coterie. It's French. I don't know how to say it exactly right. I don't know what it means, but we'll get to some of those guys in just a second here. I'm just going to kind of set this up for you. I do find the art to be very nice. I don't think it's, crazy amazing, winning some awards kind of art, but it is good. So here you see this guy is nailing this girl, and this all of a sudden this guy comes in and tells him, hey, we found the Vitruvian. So this is the Rook, and the guy's telling him, we got to go now. Are you ready to go? And throughout all of these panels right here, he's like, are we operational? And he's like, whoa, go. I seem to be somewhat intoxicated. The guy's like, just booze or mostly, yeah. And then he just goes on to expound upon all the different drugs that he's on. So he's not a good person. And at the end of the issue, there's a big explosion, and she's being saved by one of the robots. So her dad has built these robots, and even though the dad is a villain, he was part of this organization, La Coterie, or however you say it, with these other guys. They're all kind of out to get him. And I don't really want to necessarily spoil any of the big turns and changes in the comic, but you find out right away that what he's able to do is transfer his consciousness into this yellow and orange robot so that he can continue to protect his daughter. So that's what happens, is he gets caught in that explosion, and then the whole rest of the series is him and the daughter kind of trying to get away from these bad guys. And so here you see some of the members of that crew. And one of the things I really, really like about this comic is that it is extremely funny without trying to be funny. It isn't a comedy book, but I would say that its cleverness plays towards humor way more than just cool action and spy stuff. It's on the surface a spy comic, an espionage, sci-fi-ish kind of thing, but these characters are super funny, and the dialogue, it's not supposed to be funny, but you laugh at it. It's just really, really well done. So I didn't mention the artist. Sorry about that. I think I skipped that. Stefano Landini is the artist. And then Jason Wordie does the colors. The colors in this comic are also really, really great. So they get her off this island on this boat. And she ends up getting reintroduced to her estranged mother. Basically, the dad took her away from the mom when she was a little child, when she was like a baby. So the dad's been raising her. And of course, the mom was part of this organization of these villains. And just the way they all get wrapped up together is really, really great. You can see that the Rook himself kind of is modeled a little bit after Burt Reynolds, I think. And the way he dresses and just the way this whole kind of thing flows, it feels like it maybe is taking place in the 70s. Or it's really influenced by like 70s movies and TV shows. So just every issue is packed with really engaging story, and they just keep moving it forward in a natural way. Rosenberg is an absolutely great writer. He did a run on The Punisher that I really enjoyed, and I've read other stuff by him I can't recall quite right now. So I don't really know what else to say about it. It's funny, it's cool, it's creative. The art tells the story perfectly. Like I said, I'm not like obsessed with this artist, but I just think the way that this comic was made, he was the perfect artist for the story. At the end of the 6th issue, it says, you know, the Rook will return in some other title, and that may or may not have been actually true. I mean, maybe it will be coming out, but it didn't look like an ad with indicia and stuff at the bottom. So I recommend that book a lot. A couple other things just real quick. I read the next issue of Minor Arcana from Jeff Lemire. This is number 13. And just another peek at what the art looks like with Jeff Lemire and then Del Peche on the coloring. And the story's moving forward great. It's, you know, it's a decompressed story, but it's not so decompressed where you don't feel like you're getting anything per issue. They finally get to meet up with the estranged brother of her friend. Can't remember the friend's name right now. And then all the crazy psychic stuff that she's going through. So I really do enjoy that comic, and I do think it's going to read better in those oversized hardcovers that they're planning to come out with, but I'm picking it up monthly, and I'll keep you guys posted. Here's an underground comic I read that I believe had 3 stories, the middle story being the one that was absolutely great. This is American Flyer Funnies number 2. Really, really nice cover. That is Wells. All 3 of the guys in this comic are named Larry. Larry Wells, Larry Todd, and Larry Sutherland. That's Larry Wells. Super nice coloring. Really cool ship. So the first one, Wyatt Winghead, The Wizard's Challenge. I did like this art quite a bit. This one, I think the credit's at the end of it. Yeah, this first one is Larry Wells. So this one's just kind of your more typical kind of hippie story. And guy goes out to this weird village he finds, you know, there's a beautiful chick and there's weird kind of cultish stuff happening, and it's just mostly kind of a hippie story. There's some alien type stuff going on. So the second one, though, was really, really great. Let's see, where are we at here? Yes. The art is beautiful. Let's get one more picture of the art. But the story wasn't that great. So the second one here was the best. And this is by Larry Todd. It's called Star Wench on Mars. So it takes place on Mars. And Star Wench is just rolling around until she comes across these guys with this giant mutant zucchini. Super weird. Take her into their little organization where this guy has a super huge dick. And I'm trying to remember what's going on with this exactly. It's escaping me right now. It'll come to me in a second when I look a little bit more through, but the art is really great. Oh yeah, so I remember what happened. So there's this Dr. Ozone guy right here. And he performs some experiments on her. And he's got this assistant, monstery looking guy. And what he ends up doing is switching his head with her body. So the scientist now has the sexy chick's body. And then all the hippie guys come to the rescue. Weird. Yeah. Crazy. So I'll go into the rest of it, to the end of it. But the last one here is called the Ride On Squad. And this would be the other Larry Sutherland, I guess, is the last one. And this one didn't do as much for me either. But his art is good. So, love some underground comics. That was a fun one. Mostly that second story was really good. Okay, a couple more things. The Demon 53. And this is now finally Etrigan's got... I'm really enjoying rereading these. I haven't read these in a long time, and I've just been rereading them. So I feel like John McCrae's art was back on it for this issue. And Glenda's baby gets taken by Etrigan, and Hitman is still helping out, taking care of all these zombie-looking guys. I love this panel of Merlin and kind of Etrigan morphing together, their faces kind of melding and stretching. It's just basically showing how their minds are intertwined and they can communicate telepathically at that moment. And there is a pretty cool shot. You finally get to see Etrigan's baby. So let's first get a look at John McCrae's Demon there. I really like it. And then there is the baby of Etrigan. What is that thing? Crazy. It's got like a crab arm and a head, human fat drooling head growing out of the top of it. So Garth Ennis's stories are super fun in this. I mean, it's not his best writing or his best work at all, but it's just worthwhile if you are a fan of that character. And if you've read any Demon, that's the stuff to read. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show off here is a series I read that's called Batman Curse of the White Knight. And I got the first White Knight series when it came out, and I liked it pretty good. So I got this one all when it came out, and I just hadn't read it. I just filed it in my Batman box and was like, I'll get to it soon. And I finally read it, and I thought it was pretty great. It's definitely not like my favorite kind of Batman story, and I don't know why they didn't just call this an Elseworlds title, because it's really what it is. Nothing about this feels like regular Batman continuity and stuff like that. There was a variant for every issue that had like one character on there. So I got a lot of those ones as you can see. But this is all written and drawn by Sean Murphy with incredibly nice colors by Matt Hollingsworth. So it's 8 issues. So I'm not going to open up all of them or anything. But the thing is, when I look at Sean Murphy's art, at first, for some reason, when I first start looking at it, I'm kind of like, I'm not super into this. And then the more I get into it, the more I just really, really, really enjoy his art. So the thing that I dislike about his art, let's just get it out of the way. I don't like the way he draws faces a lot of the time, especially this title page. They put this in every issue with the Joker and Batman and Azrael here. Look at that Joker. It's just really odd looking the way his neck and chin kind of go. I mean, I know having the big chin, the big nose is very typical. And he's always got the 2 colored eyes with the little bat symbol in one eye. I don't like that very much, and how he always puts a lot of lines on people's faces that don't really make sense as far as anatomy goes. Like you can see, I'll try to find a better example of that. But yeah, he always puts a lot of strange lines, like you can see on Gordon's face right there. But what does he excel at? Oh my God, this guy's backgrounds and surroundings are so well done. He is an extremely talented draftsman. He can draw stuff in such incredible perspective, and he plays up his strengths. So you can tell the things that Sean Murphy likes to draw the most, aside from obviously extremely detailed, really well done perspective backgrounds. But he likes to draw cars and car races, and he likes to draw people in like kind of like racing type gear, and he likes to draw swashbuckling swordsmen. So you're going to see a lot of that in there. His Batman is okay, and like I said, the figure work is good. It's just the faces I don't quite like. But one of the other things that's really strange is how tiny he makes Batman's ears. That one wasn't as much. I mean, that's pretty representative. Look how tiny those ears are. I'm a much bigger fan of like the Kelly Jones and the Sam Keith like big ear Batman. I don't really worry too much about it either way. But I also don't know anything about Azrael. I've heard the name. I've seen that there's comics called Azrael and it ties into Batman. But what this story is about is Azrael comes up in the mix. Oh, the Joker, who in the previous series was like good and ran for mayor, he is now back to being crazy Joker. He's not Jack Napier, the good guy anymore, although it's the split personality thing is kicking in. Here we can see some of this. It's not necessarily swashbuckling right here, but you can see this kind of era he goes for. He's done stuff for Zorro. Yeah, here we go. So this kind of stuff he's really into and he excels at. So there's these flashbacks to this ancestor of Bruce Wayne. And the whole thing is about this character and the ancestor of Bruce Wayne. He draws these ships really well. A lot of big ships. Really good backgrounds. And nice. And the story is like in Arkham Asylum, there is some artifacts found that pertain, here's Bruce examining it, to this ancestry he didn't know he had. But what the whole thing does is it just kind of turns the whole story of Batman and Bruce Wayne and Gotham on its head and makes it invents a whole lot of stuff that's not supposed to be there. See what I mean about these faces? I'm just not interested in that kind of look too much. But storytelling was good. The Azrael character is kind of whatever. But just so many things happen that don't feel necessarily like real Batman, that I think if they just put Elseworlds, you kind of like, yeah, I'm not expecting this to be what it's supposed to be. But then again, I don't really care. I don't need it to say that. I can just take it for what it is. I'm just saying this in general for people who may be watching this and wondering what they're getting into here. But he draws like every different kind of Batmobile. He especially latches on to the like 1989 Tim Burton Batmobile, which I think is pretty cool. All of these covers are like embossed or something with this shininess that looks really, really nice. It's extremely well designed. The whole design of it is great. You catch it in the light, you can kind of see, you can't see it on there, but it's very interesting. So it always opens up thick cardstock covers and no ads interrupting any of this. You're in the story the whole way through. You get to the very end and you get one ad for the proper White Knight Volume 1 trade paperback and that. So I'm not going to go through a whole bunch of it, but Harley Quinn plays a big part in it too. And, you know, her and Batman have this relationship that I don't really know anything about that. Like, I don't read any real other modern Batman, like, ongoing titles, so I don't know if there is something there or what, but 8 issues, and it was fun. It was enjoyable all the way through. And the last thing I have, it ties in with that. So I think this came out maybe in between some of those issues, but I got this as well, and this was a freaking incredible book. This is another Batman White Knight, but it's a one-shot called Von Freeze. And this is written by Sean Murphy, but it's drawn by Klaus Janson and still colored by Matt Hollingsworth. And it's kind of misleading how they put Mr. Freeze like on the cover, and then on the variant cover that Klaus Janson did, it shows Batman kind of soaring in, and Batman's like really not even in it. But look at how much impact this has when you open it up to this first page. You're like, whoa, what am I getting into here? That captivates you so much. So yes, this is a story about Nazis and Jews and how this all ties into Mr. Freeze and his origins. Now, I don't really know anything about Mr. Freeze. I've read my fair share of Batman, but it's all older stuff. And I really don't know anything about Mr. Freeze aside from he's a guy who can freeze. That's all I know. And his name is Victor. That's all I know. But what this does is talks about how, so there's like a sort of a framing sequence with Thomas Wayne, Thomas and was it Martha? She's pregnant and she's like going into labor unexpectedly. And so he's going to hook her up to his freeze machine to help save her life because her life is at risk right now. So as this is happening and she's like settling in, they sit back to discuss this story about kind of like how he came to to America and the story about his father. And so it flashes back to World War II. And you come to find out a lot about his father and this Jewish man, Jacob, were best friends. And they ended up living together and became partners together. And they were creating this cryogenic stuff. And then unfortunately, his father gets wrapped up with the Nazis and they hire him on to start using this cryotechnology to create weaponry. And I have no idea if any of this stuff plays into real continuity with Batman, but as just a single story, it was extremely well told, very emotional, and this is one of the more intense pages where you can see the Nazis are experimenting on Jews with this freezing technology. There is some back matter where Sean Murphy talks about the process of getting this whole thing together and how emotional it was, how he became friends with Klaus Janson, and how they, it was like he was very influenced by Klaus Janson. It was like he said his style of inking is directly involved from the work he's done on Dark Knight and stuff. And then they talked about doing a story together, and they went out and had some wine, and then he broke down crying, and Klaus Janson told him a lot of stories about how his family emigrated here and how he had a lot of German guilt, and that they basically came up with this story together. And it's a really, really touching story. And it's about how Victor, who's the son of this German, is really connected with these Jews and want to stay with them and leave his father and live with them instead. And terrible things happen. So I'm going to probably stop explaining the story right there. But the art's very nice. The story was extremely good. And like I said, it's just a one and done comic. This was only $6 when I got it, but I think they go for a little bit more than that now. But that would be worth checking out if you can find a reasonable price on it. Okay, well, that's my video for this week. Thanks again, Terrence, for the wonderful thought, sending me those comics. That's super, super cool of you. And thanks again to Daryl D for sending me that big box of comics last week. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to show off. I did read some of those comics from Daryl D. Right. Well, I'm kind of out of time here. I got to get some food going. But I read The Stake and I read The Vineyard. These were two I just kind of reached in the box and grabbed out. The Vineyard was awesome in terms of the art. Sammy Cavella's art is really good. His anatomy, his faces are beautiful. So kind of the opposite of Sean Murphy. I really like his faces. The coloring on this comic was also gorgeous. All right, I talked about it. Why don't I just bust it out? I don't really think that this story is all that good, but it was interesting. I thought the premise was really dumb, and then by the time I got to the end of it, I kind of wanted to read more, and I only had the first issue. Look how beautiful this coloring is. This is Jason Wordie coloring. So the whole idea with this story is these people own this vineyard, and in order to appease this god Dionysus, they have to kill 4 people a year. And what happens is the god Dionysus blesses their wine, and so they can create this incredibly good wine that everyone just can't get enough of. Sort of a cheesy story, I gotta say, but I really, really liked his art, and I really like his coloring. There's some mignola leaves for you. I always think of mignola with that kind of shape of those like viney leaves. You know, her husband's this guy in a wheelchair who it's all his idea to appease this god and have to do these sacrifices, and the wife can't bring herself to do it and stuff. So I don't really know where it's going. There's a daughter who's sort of estranged from them. She had enough of their killing and had to leave, and I think in issue 2 the daughter is supposed to come back. But I actually did enjoy reading it, even though I thought it was kind of cheesy. I really liked the art, and like I said, I was kind of engaged by it. What else? I think I read a magazine comic. God, I've got so many comics here. Oh yeah, I read this 10 Years to Death. This was also not the best story. You know, I'm glad that I got it for free, and Daryl only paid 50 cents or so for it. But this was, I don't know. It was written by a guy who was in the show Battlestar Galactica, Aaron Douglas. So I guess it's it's an actor wanting to dip his toes in comics and try writing. So good for him. It wasn't bad. It was, you know what this was? This was kind of the story. Okay, I'm going to compare it to that last one. This is the kind of book where the story wasn't that great, but could have been great if a really good artist was put on it. And this is an example of a book that has a pretty stupid story that was made good by a fantastic artist. So, you know, sometimes you only get one or the other, and, you know, that might be enough to make you stick with the title. It might make you just want to drop off of it. It's easy when it's just a one-shot like that one, but it's tough when these comics look appealing and then you have to spend a lot of money to get them. You may or may not be as impressed with the results. But boy, oh boy, do I have a lot to dig into with these comics, so I'll get back to some reading after I get dinner. Hope you guys are having a great week. Catch up with you soon.